Yo, Prof here, and back at it again. This time, though, finally with the pen I teased you guys with in that long video. The thick titanium X-tone. I generally call it the X-tone or the thick X-tone. We'll be opening it up. Oh, and as you can see, the natural G10 is in its rightful home. Squeers that went at work. I thought this might happen. He tried the natural one, and he's like, that green one looked really nice before, in the picture. So, and what he means by green is the OD green, the one that I didn't quite really like. Right there, well, it's got a new home. I'm like, I know the green one. I actually didn't really like it. I thought I really would, but I didn't. So that's already got a new home. Now, just a reminder, we did try putting, because I asked him, hey, what kind of refill you want in it? I did try putting a juice up in there, right here. There's a juice up. Still does not work in the thick bolts, or, the standard bolt size. And this is technically a thick body, but it's thick outer body. Also, from my experience, doesn't work in these side clicks. The standard side clicks. Because it hits some stuff on the inside, and with the tip being plastic, whereas normally it's a metal, like that, see? That rubs on it, tip's got no worse for wear, but when it's plastic, it hits some stuff on the inside, and, now the tippy tip you're right with is still metal, but, see, it's it's a hybrid tip. If that catches on the inside, it will not extend out, because it'll shave off a hunk of plastic rather than extending the tip out. So he's just got the standard G2 because he's got plenty of Uniball or other G2 compatible refills. It was also lucky that ended up not working. I did put it in here. I did take it out of the bolt. The Karas Customs bolt, the Cerakote one, which I'm now, I don't know, 90% sure that is not painted. Like here. So I don't know if you guys heard any of that. Well, it looks like you guys did hear it. But, because in my car, I actually had to, why this is all cleaned up is I need to rebuild some PCs. And I also need to replace the battery in my remote, so I did that real quick. And if you can see painted side, it looks like they just forgot to paint, only paint that's on here is overspray. It doesn't look as bad because you're seeing the silver of the cap there, so that matches. But then compare it to this side. I'm covering up the white so you can kind of compare the difference there. So, yeah, I still really like the pen. I think, though, my initial thing said that's not enough gap for, a pocket. Because I take this, stick it in here. For the LTT pockets like this, there's a zipper here. So even that is too thick. You need a very, very thin, a shirt pocket style. If you notice on, this is tactical keychains, but that's from their knives. Tactile turn, even this can be not wide enough at times. If you can see, that's already bent up just a hair. You can see my finger between the gap there. That's from putting it in my pocket. This one also I used for a day instead of 2. It's still bent up, not as much, but they pretty quickly start doing that in that regards. If you compare it to the side click, there's way more height there. And this is also a milled clip. Here's one that hasn't been bent up because I haven't carried it. You notice the slight, very slight gap, if any. So, if you look at the modal, this is Karas Customs' new bolt. And this has way more room than their new milled clip for the Bolt V2 and the Retract. Probably could also be used in the EDK. So I think they need to increase that gap there. Once I can get them to replace the clip with a fully painted one, I will probably also mention that and be like, hey, going forward, a heads up that I stick it in one pants my jeans and it's already slightly bent. You might want to look into increasing that gap. Remember how I said we get to that pen? I don't know. Because now there's a cat here. King Arthur showed up. And because King Arthur showed up, Paisley Marie showed up. So I don't know if we're going to get it. Can we have access to this pen, King Arthur, right here? This guy? Can we get that? Kidding me? You tell everybody you show up when we shoot videos, yeah? Because you know you can get attention. Because I'm stuck in one spot. Mm-hmm. Oh, wait, I'm giving King Arthur attention, Paisley. You're like, oh, I should get it too. Look at that. Are you getting licks from King Arthur? Yeah, are you? Yeah, some people say you're quite cute. And he has beautiful fur. She's got stripes on one side. And if King will let me show you, spots on the other side. Yeah. She really needs to let me cut her claws, though. Dang kitten. Alright, guys. Yeah, you're kind of... Well, let's since the cats won't move, let's move the camera. Look at that. Look at those skills. Scooching this out from King's butt there. No, which one is it? Which one? It's the heavier one. Right here. See? As I said, the G10 was heavy, but that's for the plastic ones. Heavier than the Techiform, which is obviously heavier than the Ultim, because it's got metal in it, right? Well, G10 seemed even heavier than the Techiform. But looking it up, G10 is not essentially compressed fiberglass, but it's like a fiberboard material very close to fiberglass. So it would make sense that that's sturdier. Apparently, before like FR4 and other PCB materials, it was used for PCBs at one point. I know it from like gun grips and knife grips and that sort of stuff. Because it emulates wood very well, because of its layered construction. The unique thing about the G10, if you want to go back and watch that video, is that they had to layer it as thick as the pen is, which normally G10 is always done in like I said, a side plate on a gun or a knife, where it's a couple millimeters thick. Yes, by the way, in the U.S., for the most part, I don't know, at least I am used to using millimeters for things that are sub-inch. Or I might do a half-inch, quarter-inch. But things that are like kind of smaller than that, you might see that in some of the videos. Sometimes I'll still use inches, but often like sub-inch or sub-half-inch, I usually revert to millimeters. So, let's punch in. Bop! Okay, so here is our tactile turn bolt action thick titanium X-tone, which I almost bought from a scalper on eBay, but they kept not having. I like the bolt action standard. Standard length is the longest one that Tactile Turn offers. The same as our G10 buddy here. Same as our Techiform buddy there. Same as our Ember. Same as our side click. What that means is it's compatible with the Pilot G2. Generally speaking, if things are compatible with a Pilot G2, they're compatible with a Uniball, Energel, Zebra, because all those brands have all the same exact sizes, especially for their gel ink, and most of their gel ink is very similar to their Rollerball or their ballpoint ink. But why standardize in the G2? If there's so many more other things that are sized in the Uniball, which is actually international standard, why G2? The United States. The only gel pen that people really know in the United States, for the most part, is the G2. Some people know the Signo 207 with its gel squishy grip. A lot of people know it specifically because of the fact that Stephen Colbert, I believe, used those when he was on Comedy Central and that. Like, he specifically you only ever saw him using those. And like that was the only Uniball gel, and it was sold as like a nicer pen. But people don't know, like, that's a whole line of products. That's not just one pen. That ink in there is all right. It's very smooth. I think it's like a 0.7. The US seems to like 0.7, not even 0.5, and then like a smoother, rolling pen, like a bigger grip, rather than a lot of the other markets go into like a more precise pen, like at least a 0.5, if not a 0.4, 0.3, 0.2, and smaller. And a lot of them are just fine with it being like a stick pen, like you've seen my standard Hi-Tec-C, where it's just or here's a juice. These are technically available in the U.S. I forget what they're branded as, if they're branded as juices or not. But this is a glorified, like, I'm surprised more people don't want this guy, because this guy's awesome. I know people that still use these pens and then swap out other inks into them, like a juice up or something like that, because this clip with the little springy guy, that doesn't... Remember we just talked about clips getting wrecked on your pocket? That is not getting wrecked on your pocket, But even this is thinner than the grip on a G2, despite it having a... essentially, this is a direct... I would much rather take a Pilot Juice, as it's quicker drying. I get them in 0.4. I think you can get them... Or 0.38. I think you can get them down to 0.28. Technically, the Pilot G2 you can as well, but they're not readily available in the US. 0.7, sometimes 0.5 is what you'll see. But I mean, like, this is literally made by the same company. The G2 is just one of those things. It's kind of like a Bic crystal or a Bic stick. Like, those haven't changed, and prices haven't changed on them either in literal forever. Purposefully. So the G2 is kind of like was standardized here. That's why it was a big deal for me when Keras, when they updated the modal to take... It'll actually fit a Uniball without modification, though I recommend slicing off just less than a millimeter even off of it, so that it doesn't... Because otherwise it's flush with the tip, and there's a chance that, like, when you you go like this, you'll get a bit of an ink yourself. Now what's really cool is because this is the modal, essentially, right here, right, the top bit. So then they did modify the bottom to support this, but this is where they gain their extra length, and I showed that on one of the recent videos. Go check it out. But the newest Bolt V2s that have like this Cerakote one, which is their latest one, the bottom on here is the same as the modal, which means this also, despite me putting a juice up in there, just because, and the reason why I did that actually is because I'm used to my Bolt V2s from Keras either having a juice or a juice up, because I'm not used to being able to put a Uniball in them. To be truthful, when I replaced it, just because I'm more used to my my cellulose Uniball refill, I would probably swap it out for that. I really like the juice up. However, that I'm just more used to that ink, and it fits in more of my pens. Or not fits in more of my pens, but like just more of a common thing. I do... Juice up is probably I might even like it better than a Hi-Tec-C. Well, at least the click style ones. The original stick, pop cap off stick Hi-Tec-C is still, in my opinion, one of the best pens out there. However, I like a clicky pen if available. But yeah, so they've even updated it, and when Tactile Turn made their side click, this, without any modifications, will fit a Uniball refill. And the reason is because there's less over travel, or almost no over travel, because you just push down and it latches, right? There's like a following wedge design in there, whereas on a Bolt, which we'll see, let me pop this open. There we go. Remember, titanium, thick titanium end tone. So standard is the length. I don't have any short ones. The one I bought David for birthday/Christmas. Pre-Christmas. I don't know. I originally didn't get it for Christmas. It took that long to get it to him though, because he refused to stop over here. That was a short, and that is Parker compatible. So Parker is another like international standard. A lot of other inks fit that. Very few of them are gel inks. David, however, likes ballpoint. Not my. I've always loved gel. As soon as it was introduced, which was when I was a wee lad, immediately liked them. And even me, because it was all those available in the U.S. until I broadened my horizons. You gotta remember all the pilots. So there was like the Dr. Grip came out in the, I don't know if that was in the probably in the late 90s. A lot of people leave the ballpoint ink in there. I'd be like, heck no, grab the G2 ink. And later they made a limited edition Dr. Grip that came with G2 ink already in it. Like a lot of people, most people don't even consider that like one ink can go in another pen. That's a really nice thing about all of these. Remember, especially if you get the standard length, it's not even just like Parker or Parker compatible. Like you have, as long as you're really, really willing to do a little bit of slicey dicey on the back end with the bolt, or you go with the side click, and it literally doesn't matter. I don't know, 10 plus brands of ink are available to you. Gel, rollerball, ballpoint, etc. You name it, available. That's what I really like about it. Also, I like a refill that has a lot of ink in it. Most of these, Hi-Tec-C has more, because the clicks can only have so much in them, because like the little gel thing can only go so far. But it's far more than the shorter refills, because a lot of times when they get shorter, they get skinnier. Most of the brands, because they don't want to redesign their pens, when they make them shorter, they don't make them thinner for the ink. That is what happened here with, this is the micro. So it's much, here let's put it up top, much shorter than the standard. Now what this normally takes is a G2 Mini, which they've actually somewhat stopped producing, at least refills for. I think you can buy the G2 Mini pens. However, that's not why I bought this. I hate it because and I think the Mini's also only available in 0.7 refills, so it feels like, for me at least, writing like a marker. But then you're like, Elliot, you just bought your mom a set of pens that writes in 1.2 millimeters. I sure did. She would write with a Sharpie if she could. 3D printed adapter for the D1 refill is in here. So a D1 is even a smaller refill. But there are apparently a lot of D1 refills. This is even a Hi-Tec-C refill, D1 refill that writes half decently. Bought 3-pack of them because I don't know how much I am or I'm not gonna use this. I actually specifically bought this pen just to try out the 3D print adapter. I did buy 2 of them, like 2 of the 3D print adapters, because I also have a micro TI2 design pen that takes G2 minis as well, and I don't know, they may call it one short instead of micro, but and I tried the adapter in there, and it actually works too. This is the Hi-Tec-C is actually a metal one, and most D1 refills seem to be metal. If the whole refill is not metal, I don't know about that, because you have to like kind of force it into the adapter, and then the tip part is actually like the refill extended out. So I don't think that like some of them, the cheaper ones or like some different models would be plastic. I don't know if A, you could get that into the adapter, and then B, it would be like it'd be sturdy enough. Like you'd have a lot of wiggle on the tip probably. But away from there we go. Oh, this guy is chonky. Oh, that's got a thick tone. Thick tone, yeah. So what this guy is it is the their Bolt Titanium, which you've seen me. I have a couple. Even I have just a standard from when they first came out with their Gen 2 Bolt design, just as a straight titanium, because that was the main thing they worked with at the time. Like plain the only thing they had available. What this is the thicker pen design, like you'll see in the Techiform, right here, which originated with the Ultim because I don't know if that was the stock they had or just they felt they needed to make it thicker to make it more sturdy because it was plastic, not metal. Well, what people clamored for, and we're still clamoring for, well, those two look really, really nice together, actually, was a metal one. Right there. And they did make it. And then they went out of stock, just like the Techiform. I didn't think they were coming back ever. There was no hint to it, just like the Techiform. So that's why, like with the Techiform, I went to eBay and I had this was the only other pen, the Stealth. I had to find a standard one, which was really hard. And I don't know if it's because less people buy the standard. I would think more people want the standard, so it's in higher demand. I don't know Tactile turns numbers on selling these at all. I would think the standard is the most commonly sold one, with the micro being the least commonly sold one. I might be wrong. Maybe people are really big Parker fans. I can't remember the name of that other brand that was Parker compatible that I put into the smooth operator. Apparently, by the way, Tactile Turn actually acknowledged the issues they had with cracking bolts in the smooth operator, which is why I believe it's been discontinued. Apparently, though, they will be coming out with an updated design for it in 2024, which I'm hyped for because smooth operator is one of my favorite pen designs. I would argue it's one of the best everyday carry ones because it's so short and the clip is such a deep pocket carry. And because it uses the shorter Parker refill, so I had to look into. I can't remember the name of the refill. I gave David one with his pen though too. It's actually a needle point, but a Parker style refill, and I was able to find it in a gel. It's not the most smooth writing, but it's like I'm trying a different refill style. I didn't even know they made gels in that because it's usually that's a ballpoint style of refill. And the needle point is what you need for the smooth operator. Like it's designed to have a needle point refill from that brand. I just swapped it to a more precise refill, like a 0.3, instead of a 0.5 or a 0.7, whatever it shipped with. And then I went from a ballpoint to a gel because I like gel better. Like I mainly run the Uniball Signo UMR 83E. That's the 0.38 cellulose refill. If you're worried about it smudging, get the non-E one because that means it's gonna be light fast, which means as soon as any UV light hits it, so like most light, it's going to cure like that. This cures rather quickly for a gel ink, but it does not cure as fast as light fast. I would say if you're like David, and especially you do the 2 or 0.28 millimeter one, which is the size down. They used to even have a 0.18. Those refills actually go for big money because they don't make them anymore. Apparently, they had issues with them feeding properly and clogging, among other things. If you get the 0.28 though, I would probably recommend dropping the E because it's already scratchier, and getting the just 82, the UMR 82, because that'll be the light fast. In the more precise one, you probably want that to dry quicker because you're writing smaller. And it's already scratchier. Part of what I like about the 83E is that balance of the cellulose ink with the 0.38, which is about as close as I can get to the 0.4 of the Hi-Tec-C that I like. The balance of the cellulose ink plus that slightly bigger size gives it a nice smooth roll writing to it. And because I was trying to swap the refills for David so he could get one of the juice ups, I actually already prepped, like chopped off about 1 millimeter off the back of this, and I showed in a previous video how I prepped these for use with a lot of these custom pens. I just shaved down the front so it's a little bit smoother of a ramp there. I take a notch out of the back so that it can still breathe properly, because if the end's covered up, which most pens will do, not the ones that it's designed to go in, but most aftermarket pens will cover this end up, well, it needs to... I was going to say it needs to breathe through there. It's not really breathing. What it is doing is atmospheric pressure is actually what's feeding this. So, but if you seal that off, it's going to starve the tip because there's nothing pushing the ink down. So that's why you just take a notch out. I learned that from the early Hi-Tec-C custom inks. I forget where online, but it was some forum thing. And then like once somebody explained it, I was like, oh, that makes a ton of sense. And I just do that from now on all my gel refills. Now be aware, if you make that too big, like if you make it a giant gash all the way down the side, or I've even tried doing 2 notches, you can actually get too much. And I've had them like leak out the front because there's like too much airflow. The notch should be about the size of what the hole would have been. If you look there, like what the hole would have been, if you could use the hole. So don't make some like eat away half the refill, because then it might not even feed in your pen correctly. But just a little notch out of it makes these run like brilliant. Not needed as much on the Uniball. I just do it because I'm used to doing it. Hi-Tec-C, very much needed. Some of the other refills, like they're more or less sensitive to it. But by doing these, this thing runs like a dream. Never have had. That's the other thing I like about these Uniball refills is a lot of times the Hi-Tec-C, if not stored correctly, and you go to pick them up, will be like they'll write poorly for the first little bit because it's a little bit dry. You got to give it a couple shakes to get the ink down into the tip. These Uniballs, if you prep them like this and they haven't been sitting a long time, it's very rare for them not to just start writing immediately. The only one of like recent 20 or 30 of them, the only one I have been having issues with is the one in the Ultim, and you can see that error is actually coming in the tip and like bubbling up and separating the ink. It still writes surprisingly, but I have to imagine once we start getting down to where some of these like bubbles are, it's going to write like shit. But for the most part, being in your pocket tip down, like Hi-Tec-C does not like that. It wants to be tip up. So I actually like invert how I carry, like say the pen type B in my pocket. Like I actually flip it around. They want, you know, like this way. However, I've found that it writes like shit. And if you look at all the Hi-Tec-C pens, even the click-based ones have like a cap on them or something like that, so that they are tip up at all times. So you either want them tip up or flat like that. You don't want them like this. You get 2 issues with that. It becomes sploochy and leaks out just being like on its own. I've had that happen with a number of refills that are like gel ones. That's why they actually come with the goop on the end. Also, so that air doesn't come in, and that's how I had the issues with the Uniball one in the Ultim pen. Because air is actually coming in the tip and coming out the back. Now, normally you would run through a refill before that would start happening. However, you've seen how many pens I have. That's why, generally speaking, unless I'm going to use the pen, I'm not going to replace the refill. I run them down, usually almost out. But unless I'm going to use that pen again or something, I'm not going to replace the refill. Because it could just go all bleh if it sits there for, you know, like a year or something, or 2 years. Or usually it's not that long, because usually I just go to my set of pens and I'm like, which one do I want to use today if there isn't one that just recently came in, which is this guy now, which is why I'll be using this one. This thing is weighty, but it's the same thickness. Actually, it even feels slightly thicker. Maybe I'm just crazy, but to me, and I think I noticed this when I first unboxed it with that other tease video. To me, this feels just a hair thicker on the thick titanium as compared to the Techiform, which I had been using at the time. Like, it just feels just a hair thicker, and that could be because of weight. I would go get my calipers, but last time I tried to use them, the battery was dead because I don't have a good pair, and bad calipers use as much battery when they're not on as when they're on. I have no idea why. I need to spend the $100 and get a good one at some point. But yeah, the other thing I was going to show you guys was that, like, how the bolt works is it actually needs to overextend. So you have to actually go here, and you're sticking. Oh god, the kitten just took a shit and hasn't cleaned herself yet, and oh my friggin' think about one stinky ass fart. Whew. So, but if you watch the tip when I do this, it goes way past, and I mean way past where it needs to. and then settles back down where it needs to end up with. The side click barely needs to go past. Like, for example, it only goes like that far, and then it will settle back down. Like, it just goes slightly enough past to click in, but the bolts have to go way past. And the additional length caused by the additional length in a Uniball refill, which we'll go and swap this one right now, compared to a Pilot G2, Uniball, Zebra, Energel, I think that's also a Pilot, I forget, but it follows the other spec of ink. They're slightly different. So let me hit pause and we'll try to do macro mode. Alright, so we've got some macro mode action going on here. Here's our comparison. You can see the reason why you have to cut 1 millimeter off the back end of the Uniball, which is on the bottom here, is because the tip is actually 1 millimeter longer. Right? Like you can see there on the tip, it is just a little bit longer. And the bigger issue is actually not the tip. It's actually this part right here, the plastic. So if you look, the plastic part right here is just, it sticks out. That's where that millimeter is, right? On the tip there, where the plastic is actually the millimeter longer. The tip is probably actually less than that. But what it is a lot of these pens, because they're designed for a G2, are designed to take this nub X amount of distance and then this width X amount of distance, because they know only the tip has to go out the tip. Well, because this plastic needs to go out, like, or go deeper into the pen, a lot of the pens are not designed to have that width closer to the tip, right? And it should never go out of the pen. You know, like when you click it in there, it should never go out the pen. You should only ever see the metal tip. But if you notice that actual plastic, that's where actually your issue is. It's not technically the writing tip, it's this plastic piece. It is actually thinner than the G2. Like the tip on the Uniball is actually thinner. And but this plastic here, it goes down further than the G2 is. And yes, the G2 gets this notch here. That's due to the spring that they use. But in most cases, the base here is exactly the same. So like where the spring would seat on here is the same. This part here is for when the spring's compressed, it sits in that bigger notch, then it doesn't like wiggle around and stuff. If we hold these together, you'll notice the back end, this one's shaved down already, exact same. But if you notice, this is now pushed forward to where like the plastic pieces line up and the tips match. And then because I've shaved this one down, the back end matches. If we actually move it back to where it ends up in the pen like this, so if you notice, because we have a longer tip, we got to take off just a hair off the back end. So technically speaking, if they designed it for the Uniball, it would fit the G2. It's kind of like, what is it? A rectangle is a square, but a square is not a square is a rectangle, but a rectangle is not a square, sort of thing. Same thing here. If you design it for the Uniball, it'll fit the G2. If you design it for the G2, that doesn't mean it always fits the Uniball. It should, because they're so friggin' close. But if it's usually on the tip end, if they make it really tight up there, or if they cut it as tight as they can for the G2, where they're trying to get the pen as short as possible or something like that. Apparently in the bolt, that additional distance, because it has to latch the bolt, and remember how it goes, it over travels, right? That ends up, because I actually drilled one out myself without knowing this before I talked to Tactile Turn. It still works beautifully. But apparently, and you can tell on mine that I drilled out, where the tip gets very, very thin. And they were worried about durability of the pen with the metal that thin. And also being able to reliably mill it and produce it to be that thin of a metal on the tip. Also, what happens if you drop it on the tip? Is it too thin that now it'll dent? Like, even though it's titanium or stainless steel or whatever, it'll dent now that it's that thin. Very well could. Now mine was perfect. They've even repaired mine once because the clip broke on it. And they did repair mine, which I was very happy about, because mine's happily modded to take a Uniball refill natively. However, now I know I can just chop the back end off. I don't even remember if they had that originally posted on their site that you could do that. But yeah, in my opinion, if you guys are making one that's compatible with either of these, make the Uniball compatible, and then you can still sell it as a G2, you know. Um, and that's, like I said, what they did with the side click, and it was fully remediated because of the less over travel. You can just chuck a Uniball in there and it just works. So that's why I kind of have all of my side clicks use Uniball, and then the bolts might use a different refill because it's also like, hey, if I want to use a specific refill for the day too, I can tell by the type of pen what refill it should have. Just like how the Bolt V2s from Keras almost always have a juice up in them for me, so I know, oh, I want to use juice up today. Grab that. Or for a Tactile turn, their slim ones can use the juice up. So it's some difference in milling inside the pen that allows them that to happen. So all of my slim versions from them have a juice up. And so I know if I want either a slim pen, it's going to have a juice up, or I grab the Bolt V2. If I want to do something else, or I want the Uniball, which I normally do, and I usually prefer the side click, grab a side click. Also, because traditionally their seasonal pens are side clicks. It's usually the custom shop series, what they call it, that are the bolts. Because they can be, I'm guessing it has something to do with the side click mechanism in there. Like here, there's actually like a wedge that tilts, goes from here to there, or it goes from here to the straight, and it holds it in line. And you press it, you're pushing the wedge out of the way. They were like neon colored pens that were ballpoints, is basically where they got the idea from my understanding. I used to see those a lot when I was younger. You also used to see it in highlighters. That mechanism was often used in highlighters back in the day. So we're talking like 90s and 2000s. So it's a very positive action. Less so on the slim ones. And I think that has something to do that when you press it, instead of the button going here, it actually starts going into the body. So I actually think if they just extended or changed the travel dimensions, now their pen works, but because this just stops, like, it doesn't go in the body. Like, even when I push down on it, it doesn't go in the body. I think that's why the slim side click can probably take some differential in the insides, which is why the slim side click can take the juice up. But then also, it feels like more mushy. But then this end part actually goes down into the body when you click it all the way, which I don't particularly like. It feels kind of like sharp on the edge sometimes there. Also, it's like a more domed clicker, whereas I just really like this flat, just chonker, especially with this brass guy on here. Oof. As you can see, I've played with the brass one a lot, where it's actually like discolored from, playing with it a little bit. But yeah, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this pre-modded. Yeah, you can even see in here. It's a chonky boy, guys. Chonky boy. And I like my thick pens. But my guess is because of that tilting mechanism that's in there, like when they want to use like these really fancy metals and stuff like that, they don't know how well that will work with, say, like a super premium whatever kind of steel, or a, where they have it down with their standard ones. And you can easily make the bolt out of all these different kinds of materials. Like I said, they even made the side click, or the smooth operator has it out of Delrin for the slide in there. So it makes it really smooth, and it's really lightweight because it's all titanium. So there's a lot of playing that you can do with, because the bolts is just a simpler. There's less mechanics to it, I guess. But in the so like you can play with different materials more easily, I guess would be my explanation there. To me, this really does feel just a hair thicker than the Techiform, but the bolt in the Techiform felt a hair looser. Like the Ultim is still way smoother than the Techiform. The Techiform has been working in a little bit, but there is like a gap on the inside that's not on the Ultim. The G10 is a bit crunchy. Like it's got some grit to it, but the material also has some grit to it. So the other thing I will say is too, the bolt on here, looking online, it is titanium, but it's not the polished titanium. Maybe they didn't see that as being needed. Like, same thing with the clip. The clip is not a polished titanium; it's like a tumbled. So I think that the see, this one's nice and shiny and polished. So I think it's just way smoother. I think that the tumbled is just not as smooth of a bolt. But now if you toss that in with the G10's grittiness as a product, it could be that they found out that if you put the polished bolt into a G10, it would just mess it up and make it no longer polished. So, you know, like, one way to cover that, not to cover it up, but, you know, to like mitigate that, it's kind of like, why make things glossy black if they're just going to get fingerprints on them and or scratches and make them look no longer glossy black and make them look like ass? Make them matte black, make them brushed aluminum, you know, and rather than a perfectly, so like, that's probably what ended up happening there, is that they found out that with this, because that's like why you put G10 grips on like a knife or on a gun, is they have like a bit of grit or grippy to them, because they have that texture, you know, this almost wood-like texture to them. They could have found that with the, like, you know, because it's a bit more of a rough material, that had you put a polished bolt in there, it would have unpolished it quite quickly. I mean, I think it looks good like that. It's just not as smooth by any means. The other thing that's kind of like a happy accident when it comes to the thick bolts is, just from my experience, the bolt doesn't stick out as far. It's much more flush to the body. Oh, yeah, this is just way smoother, way softer, because it's aluminum, or not aluminum, titanium. But yeah, because of the thick bolt, the bolt does not stick out as far. And what that means is it doesn't catch on your pocket. It doesn't, you know, like all that sort of stuff. Nearly as much. Now, when I pop this bolt into my hand, which is my Ember, that feels, I don't know, right now it feels better, but I could just be saying that because I'm so used to it. Like, I literally used this thing for 4 months straight. That's why it's got a little nick. I don't mind that it's got a little nick. As long as I'm the one that put it there, I know it's there. I know it's there. I'm not going to not use my pens, guys. I'm not going to buy these to not use them. No point. Am I bummed about this because you've heard me talk about it, and especially the one up top here because you see it? Yes, I am bummed. The one down here, it's just a chip in the clear coat. Like, you can't even, your nail feels it, but that's about it. But this guy, ugh. Very, very bummed when I did that. But I'm much more used to this thickness, just because all of the seasonal ones, which are generally done in side click variation, are that thickness. I kind of am interested to see if they'll make a thick side click now. Like, I don't know if they probably have to adapt that mechanism. Like, the button is a certain size and it sticks out a certain distance, etc., etc. So it's going to be harder to do a thick side click. Whereas with the bolt, you don't have to change the insides at all with the bolt. You just got to make the outside, don't mill it down as far. Maybe make the clip a little bit, stand out a little bit more. I don't even know if they did that. No, it's probably the same clip looking at it. It just, here, let me hold this down. So the clips, if you look at them, there are, this one, which is standard size, just sticks out farther. So it's probably the same thing. The bolt's the same size and the clip's the same size. So the only restriction with how thick they made this is if they made it too thick, they would actually have to mill an extended bolt and an extended clip. Which, wouldn't be the end of the world, but I mean, the less things they have to change to put out new products, probably the better. I don't know how they did this finish. They didn't really say. The bolt is a anodized titanium bolt. Blue is one of the common colors you'll get with anodized titanium, because you heat anodize it. And then they went with a black clip. This one's labeled Tactile Turn 2024. What is this, car model years? What is this shit? G10 2023. This one, I bet you the other Techiform would have said 2024 on it. I don't think they meant to launch these in 2023 because it literally says 2024 on the clip on the backside, and that is it's. I bought it like a week or two ago at this point. I bet they were trying to hold these for next year, but the Techiforms sold immediately, like I said, and then the G10 Thicks, or no, G10 Thick came out. People wanted more of them because those sold out immediately. I'm trying to remember like the order of things. Yeah, G10s came out. Then they're like, people were like, oh, we love the thick ones. They launched the Techiforms, and literally like the next week, because it was end of the week, like Friday, the next Monday or Tuesday, they launched the X-Tones, the thick X-Tones. I don't think they planned on doing it that quickly because what they end up doing is riding on the coattails of the other thick pens, because people were in there and be like, oh, dude, I love the thick one, or I already bought one of these, I got it in, it'd be awesome if you made a thick metal, and they're like, oh, well, yeah, because they had these suspiciously quickly. So I think that they were going to hold these, or they were producing them for a 2024 release, not, or like a 2024 re-release, not a like how we got them, which was very end of 2023. Because like I said, it says 2024 in there. Very interesting. I'm glad I got it. I'm glad I didn't have to pay a scalper. I'm bummed because these came back in stock. I was on top of it. I could have gotten one that came back in stock, but it was a day or two after my one from eBay showed up. Now I paid a reasonable price over for it, you know, thinking that it wasn't ever coming back in stock because somebody finally had another one, and I was like, yeah. But had I known that a week after I ordered this, they were going to restock them when there was no hint at it, I wouldn't have done that. And I obviously would have bought one directly from the company. But can't do that if I don't know what's going to happen. But on this one, people were like, because the G10 had come out, the Techiform had come out, and then like sizes had sold out. Like I woke up, I had an alarm at or right before noon to buy it, went back to sleep, woke up for work. Like right before work at 2, because I'd woken up earlier to make the purchase. You know, just got an hour of sleep in there. You know, hour or so of sleep, and they were the standard size at least, and I think the mini was already sold out. So I was glad I did that. Same thing with the G10, that sold out pretty darn quick as well. And I'm glad I bought both because I thought I was gonna like the green based on the OD green based on their pictures, and I didn't. It's got way too much olive in it, at least my version. I don't know. Like, they're like, oh, it could be, like, we had them done by a professional, you know, difference in lighting and blah, blah. And yes, I can even see this. This gets much lighter when you're in a very well-lit area. I don't think, at least my green one is very green. It's soon to be Squeers' green one, though. I had a person on Instagram I almost sold it to, and I told Squares, like, hey, if you don't want this, I will sell it to him, because he was like, oh, dude, the one on the right there is banger. I'm like, oh, the green one? You like the green one? And he's like, yeah, I'm having FOMO because fear of missing out. And I'm like, dude, if you want it, like, I thought I'd like that one more, and I ended up, I love the natural. Somebody saw this one working, they're like, this thing is beautiful. I'm like, it sure is. Love the natural, and Mooski was like that too. He saw the images in Discord on that one, and beautiful pen. He's like, which one is that? And he even like cropped it out and circled it. So yeah, head over to our Discord if you want to talk pens and other everyday carry stuff, EDC stuff. Yeah, it didn't work out for me, but we found 2 other people. If it wouldn't have gone to Squares, and I told them that, like, hey, I'll reach out to the guy on Instagram. But if you're interested, you get first dibs, obviously, man. You know. Also, I don't have to ship it then. I don't gotta go to the post office. Wakey, wakey, computer. So thick X-Tone completely sold out already. Oversized diameter. A new treatment we're calling X-Tone. Oh, you know what this reminds me of? The Fallout finish from TI2 Design. I wonder if it'll wear better. Here is my Fallout. Yeah, that's very close. That's so very close. Look at that. That is so. I'm gonna. They're calling it their new treatment. We're calling X-Tone. That is the same iridescent multi. Like I don't remember what it is. I'd have to look it up from TI2 because he went a bit more into it. Now he called it Fallout because of the like dingy, and you can see it a bit more on the grip up here where it's got the like a blue backing with the iridescent gold on top. But then the other reason why, and David was actually a little bit bummed because he got his bolt, I believe, like his instead of tech liner, bolt liner, I believe he calls it, like the TI2 design. I think that's Mike Bond. That's why I want the brass clip on it. Look at how good that black brass clip looks with the Fallout finish here, right? However, it's this one in this case is, if you look at it, it's scraped to hell, and that's one reason why David didn't end up really liking it. And I told him, like, hey, you knew that, because I told him that when I bought this one, or after I had this one, like, it's supposed to, in this case, maybe not supposed to wear off, but it's being sold as that sort of thing where it's going to look more, and like the more and more you use it, the more and more dinged up it's going to get. But it only dings up the like iridescent gold layer, not the blue undertone. So I don't really know how it is, but like this is what they call the X-tone finish. Now the gold may be a little slightly different way of applying it, but it still is. It's a blue, or it's a gold over blue, and that's probably why I liked it, is because I like this pen. And you can see like there's a big scratch down here from something. Probably need to loosen this up and change where the clip is after some time, because it looks like I like wore a spot in the finish where the clip was too, which is fine. I'm just kind of like rotating it so that the same area doesn't keep getting worn, I guess. So try and even out the wear. These are magnetic, but yeah. So I thought I recognized this X-tone finish. It's the same. It looks maybe not the same, very similar to the Fallout finish from TI2 Design. Both titanium. TI2 worked. TI is titanium. It's in his name. Even the original TI2 pen that was for the Hi-Tec-C, which this is the same length of, which he no longer makes this full size length, was titanium. So whereas Tactile Turn was originally more on the aluminum side, but when they went to their newer designs, because they had the mover, the shaker, and something else, that was their original bolt and click design. And I should remember what the other one is. I don't remember off the top of my head. I only had one of them. And then with that, they were more on the aluminum. But as soon as they went to their like Gen 2 bolt, which they don't even call Gen 2 bolt, they just call it their bolt action pen. They went basically titanium only. Then later on started adding back some of the like copper, brass, etc. sort of stuff. Whereas TI2 Design, for the most part, he only does various titanium designs, engravings, infills, that sort of stuff, and then very rarely he'll pump out like a stainless. I bought that immediately. Or he'll do Ultim, bought both of those. Or he'll do, like, I bought a stainless in both the capped and bolt liner design. He really needs to do an Ultim bolt version. That'd be amazing. Very rare that he works with other ones, and those are usually limited edition runs, because his standard or his go-to, because he does a bunch of other EDC items at TI2 Design, is titanium. Makes sense in his name. Very good at milling titanium, in fact, turns out. Thick titanium versions, we got turning lathe, experimental dual tone finish, give the pen an iridescent color shift, matte black clip, and blue internal and bolt. Now I don't know if the matte black clip is DLC coded or not. I would almost think it would be, because they have existing clips from on the, if you didn't notice, the clip here is black. So I don't know if that's powder coated or if that is DLC coded. You would think, because DLC is a more costly process, that they would have mentioned that rather than just being black. However, I know for a fact they just stock DLC code clips because just like the Damascus bolts, the DLC code clips are just a thing you can buy. Um, so you know that may have just been a part that they already had existing out there. And like I said, I know this blue that's in here. It's definitely anodized titanium. They say it's titanium, but because blue is, like I said, blue, purple. I think you can get some yellow, orange in there too, but it's heat anodized, not chemically anodized like an aluminum would be. To do that, you go more in the deal like the coating wise, like a DLC coat or something like that, because it's heat anodized. Not titanium is actually quite chemically resistant comparatively. Whereas titanium, even in its stock form, like if you don't at least clear anodized titanium, it'll immediately rust. Oh, rust, oxidize. There you go. Titanium. That's why, like the first one, like I actually had my Hi-Tec-C version of this, and I showed it to my dad with the DLC coat, and he's like, "Why'd you coat it if it's titanium? It's already like super resistant." I'm like, "Cause it looks cool," and he's like, "It does." But yeah. So play around with this guy. This is why I was surprised the Ti2, by the way, also went to G2 inks instead, because the original Tech Liner, like the original Ti2 pen, was Hi-Tec-C. Then the Tech Liner, which has how it got its Tech Liner, is from the Uniball refill. Because a liner is a type of pen. That's also how this tip does this. Like that's how it's different than the Hi-Tec-C version. Is it sticks out like so you can use it on a ruler. And like the tip sticks out much farther than like something like a like that, you know, right? So I was very surprised when he switched to the G2 because like this design, I don't know if it's still called. I mean, the new one's called the Bolt Liner, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's still called Tech Liner. But the whole like the original full length this one, right, was done this way because like for the Uniball refill. Now I think this length, if you compare it to the Hi-Tec-C one, is the exact same length. On later versions with David and I both have just a plain titanium one before he went all crazy with his stuff, like crazy in a good way, like designs changed it up and a bunch of that. That I think he called the short, which is now the standard one. That basically is this much shorter. So this goes down here, and we both have those as well because I've got a very good deal on them. And yeah, so I'm glad I have his sort, and I actually was on his monthly. He has a monthly pen club, so if you really like, say if you don't like the bolt or the side click, and you like more of this magnetic or the bolt liner design, check out Ti2 Designs because he actually has a monthly pen thing. How I ended up doing it is I bought it monthly. I want to say for better part of a year, if not a whole year, and that's too many pens for me because it's like 12 pens. I'd have a whole thing, like a whole pen holder of just pens and more. So basically, what it ended up being is if one came in and I didn't like it, offered it to David first. Now that worked out every time. I think one other person might have bought one other one for me at some point. But there is like a baby blue one that's a mini, and that was one of two times maybe he shipped a mini ever in that. And the mini one also only works with the G2 mini refill. And I wasn't a fan of the blue thing. David doesn't like, or David Squares doesn't like the G2 mini refill. Imagine this, but just it's that long instead of that long. And it's only available in 0.7 and only, I believe, in black anymore. Very restrictive refill. Now that you can get the 3D printed adapters, not nearly as much. But it just appealed to nobody. So at some point, I probably need to sell it when it's not even in one of the pen holders. It's just sitting up on the shelf. Sad day for that pen. And I've offered it to other people who are into pens as well. It's just so short. Like it's almost too short to be useful. Like it's actually shorter than the Tactical Keychains ink, TK ink, which is short. Like this is short, and it's like there. Like it's like almost too small. Well, not almost. For me, it is too small. Now, I kept one of them because it's like one of the only pens. The other one I kept because it was one of the only ones he did it in brass. Because TI2 design usually doesn't do brass, and it has a really beautiful design on it. So that's more one that's just kind of like in the collection. Or if I'm feeling like a tiny pen day, I have one in there. You know, kind of like here. This was only a Black Friday, kind of out of spare parts. It just tumbled. You got a really good deal on them too because of that. They just tumbled the DLC finish because like it wasn't proper. And then made mini pens on it. My guess is the reason why I ended up mini pen is because they that's how much they had. Because if you took a standard length body, you can fit a mini in like fully, like we're talking end cap, tip, everything within the body of a standard pen, like completely. So that's, I'm guessing they had standard bodies that just didn't get DLC coded properly, and they milled them down into minis. I might be wrong, like how this became a thing, but it was a Black Friday only. I think you even had to be like one of their people that got their like discounts in order to access it. So even though I'm not hugely into the mini, and I learned about the D1 a 3D printed adapter because they actually Tactile actually mentions it on their website even in their compatibility thing. They've gotten really good at that. Yeah, I thought I'd personalize it too because this is just kind of like you were there, like you're one of our people that got our big, like there was a bigger discount that they sent out to their website to people who had, I don't know if they spent X amount or you bought seasonal pens or signed up for whatever, I don't remember. Bought enough from them though, that's for sure. So I took advantage of it. I'm like, it's kind of cool, you know. But yeah, if you want a monthly pen and you have disposable income for that, check out TI2 Design. Now they default to G2. He does sell adapters that would allow you to use Uniball in here as well because lengthwise, you just remove like a washer that's in there and then you change the part that holds the tip. Like there's a plastic or nylon thing behind the magnet in there, so it doesn't have that step in it anymore. And perfect. Will you still be able to? He didn't make it not use a Uniball. It's just that he standardized on the G2 shipping. Because the nice thing is remember how I said originally used a Uniball refill. Then it could easily be made to take a G2. The bolt liner, however, is sad in that department, in my opinion, because he designed that from the get-go. Because by then he had switched the tech liner from being a Uniball refill to being a G2, or during that development of the bolt liner. So you have to chop the refills for the bolt liner. Now it is a shorter pen, like a really short pen. So it makes sense, but yeah, I had to get this one out because I think if you took these millings here, like the milling lines out of this, this Fallout version, or maybe a less dinged up Fallout version from TI2 Design, like that would just be a very similar finish, and hopefully you guys are seeing that on camera half decently there. But very happy I got myself a thick X-Tone. I like a heavier pen. Throw the cellulose refill in here. A little slightly thicker, heavier pen. Writes so smooth with that cellulose ink in there. I will say though, on the same accord, I did notice immediately, like literally immediately, with how light Keras Customs made their modal. So this is kind of like the other direction. Like you want a pen that can do Uniball refills, but you want a nice and light one. Check out the modal. They purposely made them full. Kitten, you cannot go on the headrest. No, you cannot go there. Yep, get down. So they purposely made they changed up the design so it could be shorter than their Bolt V2 and actually be an actual bolt design. But then the clip and the other components were also made in a way that they could mill them out of aluminum rather than them having to be steel or titanium or something like that. Because that way, if you notice, every part on this except for the I think that's an Ultem or might be a Delrin like bolt action inside of it, all of the parts are the same color, which they've never been able to do on the other pens before, because either the click mechanism was a third-party click mechanism or it was out of steel or titanium, whereas the body would be out of out of aluminum. It looks beautiful. I actually do like this OD green design. Like I showed you, I have a knife in the same color. It's a nice, very nice deep green color. So if you want something lighter and don't like I said, I kind of like, the weight difference here. Two of these almost, I would say, make this guy. This is surprisingly light. You hand it to David, and he's like, "Ooh, it's because aluminum is lighter than titanium, guys. For the same amount of physical space it takes up, it's lighter. It's just that titanium's stronger. However, in a pen, that really doesn't matter, you know. So, like maybe go grab a modal and put a .28 light fast refill in here, and then grab a if they don't have any more X tones, like a thick X tone, or wait for a thick X tone, and put a .38 cellulose in here, and just really smooth and really precise. Something like that in there. Just ideas. Let me know what you guys would do down below in the comments. Which one of all these pens that I showed in this video that was supposed to be about one pen that I took downright forever to get to, did you like the best? Like, are you like, ooh, you always talk about always talk about tactile turn. You see those the most because of the seasonal pens. And you sometimes talk about Keras, especially with the clip on, like this guy on their new, the new modal just came out, and I got this. They just started doing Cerakote on their some of their pens. TI2 haven't seen any of your content on them before. Well, you guys finally. The kind of reason there is the designs he does are like, a lot of it's engraving or finishes. It's not like a themed pen or something like that. They are actually on cheaper compared to some of these other ones. But I have a lot from them because I was part of, and I was really into those actually. I love playing with the magnets. Holy hell, they're basically their own little fidget toy. But because I was on the monthly subscription for them, I have a lot of them, and the design has not changed since it came out with the bolt liner. So that's why you haven't seen a lot of that content, a lot of those in recent content, I should say. If you're watching this video, you probably may not have even seen me make content on it, because it was many years ago. Not many, but say 3+ years ago, that I got a lot of those in, not recently. Really the bolt liner didn't hit with me, especially when I chopped down that refill, and I couldn't just throw in, like when he went away from the Uniballs, because if you guys are wondering, this TI2 design, specifically this pen right here, is what made me switch, or it made me research Uniball and Uniball compatible refills. I ended up on the Uniball, but I bought black point, I don't remember if it was .28 or .38 size of every gel refill that was compatible with that pen. Like, we're talking, it was 6 or 8 different refills. Like Energels, Zebra somethings, Sakura Jelly Rolls. Oh, love the Sakura Jelly Roll. However, it's a water-based ink. So, but the black that makes, I think I still have it in one pen up there. But unless you can write with that normally, like that will not write on receipt paper, which is, I was working at Geek Squad at the time, so I had to be able to do that, and it didn't do it, because it couldn't soak in. Yeah, like a whole bunch, like I said, it was like 6 or 8 different refills, all in the .4, .38 refill size, some in the .28, all Uniball, and this was the pen. I only had this pen that was compatible with them, and I went through and tried all these different refills, in here, and decided, that's how I decided on the Uniball. Jelly roll? This might be a jelly Oh, yeah, it is. So as I said, one of these has a jelly roll. It's actually this one. They don't list them as jelly rolls. They list them as Sakura, whatever the part number is on there that I can't read because it's worn off. Um, but Sakura is the one that makes the jelly roll. It's essentially this is the click version of the standard stick pen style jelly roll gel refill, which I want to say is one of the first that I ever used in the U.S. for gel pens. Classic gel pen in my opinion. They're always very precise too. I always like those because that, like, despite the metal tip on them being very thick, the tip went down to a very precise point. I would say classically too, like, this is something that's come back within recent years, especially like during COVID and stuff, was drawing with gel pens. Well, that was a thing that started when I was young because gel pens just come out, but that very precise, and they're available. Like, another thing is gel pens are available in, like, not just a few colors, like a billion of them, especially coming out of Japan, and used for drawing because you can get them in very precise points. So yeah, and a lot of these older pen, if I have an old refill kicking around that is one I might not like, but if it's not a pen I plan on daily driving, I'll just chuck it in there, and that way I can go and grab it if I want to write with that refill again. But yeah, I tried. This is the pen that I tried all these different Uniballs because I got this thing. I was like, oh, he finally came up with a new pen, and actually had done it quite a bit earlier than I found out. But I wasn't like really tracking him because it was under TI2 design, whereas the previous pen was TI2 pen. And he owns, or like has the social media and the websites and stuff for both. Well, this was on the TI2 design website because it has his other EDC stuff and other stuff he's done. So I wasn't following that. And apparently it was done on Kickstarter too, but it was done under the design rather than TI2 pen because it's a Techliner. It's not the original TI2 pen. So I just kind of like missed out on it. I picked this one up, and then the only thing was is he's like, oh, he's using Uniball. All of my custom pens until this point had either been Hi-Tec-C or I say custom pens, like milled pens, milled, or Hi-Tec-C, or they were the Parker refill, but actually the Schmidt, like Schmidt Easy Flow or Schmidt, I forget what the one I use is, like P8192 or something like that. Like that style, like more Parker style. Like I didn't, not that I didn't know there was something else in between. I just had no reason to look into it because the pens I used didn't use it. And this did, and I'm like, oh, I want to buy his new pen. I'm gonna get it in this cool finish, and we're gonna rock that, and we're gonna just. I mean, I used this thing for many, 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 many months, just trying out. Like, I would run through a whole cartridge, and I'd bring a couple to work, chuck, keep one or two in my lunchbox or whatever, and then like halfway through the day, chuck them out, change them out, and see like, oh, do I like this better or worse, etc. I actually like this longer size. If we're going skinny, go longer in my opinion, because then I can do stuff like this. That's where like the Apple Pencil does a great job of emulating like an actual drawing thing, which makes sense because this is called a Techliner. I think he was trying to hit a certain length that he had already kind of figured out with the Hi-Tec-C version of this. But it's good for playing with too. So I've nothing. Like, a lot of times I talk to you guys about shorter pens and like, oh, I like how the modal is noticeably shorter despite being able to use a Uniball refill, or like for everyday carry pens, the EDK because it's short was great. I'd recommend the modal now though because it's as short as an EDK but can take better refills in my opinion. And don't forget with Uniball, I always talk about gel pens because that's what I like. But Uniball has Uniball sized refills. I forget what that size is called. It's like international standard, blah blah blah. Um, that's available in a tons of, like, probably even more than gel is available in more versions of um, ballpoints, or as many. And then in some cases, there's even some rollerballs and smaller stuff in that same. And if you include the Pilot G2 style, then you start getting into the V5 Precision, a whole bunches of different stuff. You know what I mean? So, very versatile size. But then like the Smooth Operator, also very good at everyday carry pen. I wouldn't necessarily carry this, consider this an everyday carry pen. This goes all the way down to the bottom of your pocket, and you can see with how it's scratched up, like around the cap here and stuff like that. It hits stuff. Like in the same pocket I carry my pen or pens. I used to when I was at Geek School. I carried two, always one for me, and if somebody else needed to sign something, etc., I would have another one for them. Or in case you just put it down back and you need to sign something else real quick, you just got your second one on hand. Like, oh, I love how this fits here like this. That's why the size, the length, but it's skinnier, so you don't have that weight. Um, the like for quick writing and pocket carry, the shorter ones to a point are nicer. Thick ones can be worse though. But you don't want skinny and short because then it gets hard to hold on to. Because with a long skinny pen, you can butt it up against like the back of your hand like this, or however you do it. With a short pen that I can't grip onto here, and I have to use other parts of my hand to grip onto. You want it thicker, in my opinion. This is all my opinion. Some of these can hit these like perfect points where like the smooth operator, I think with that needle point kind of hits that like it's a really deep pocket carry. So instead of the clip being like here, it's what almost at the end. So it's all kind of different stuff, and like you guys don't have to like the Uniball refill. Like David, like I said, he prefers the Parkers because he likes the ball points, and there are refills in that size styles in that size refill that he really likes, or he likes the Space Pen, which is in the TK ink. Like really likes that. I think he's carried his every day since he's gotten it, whereas I have not because for certain uses, like it can write on wood and all this crazy stuff. Very good. Like if I'm doing that sort of stuff, that will be in my pocket. It's also built like a freaking tank. Will be in my pocket. But yeah, like being this long, it's gonna smash into. I carry AirPods and my wallet. My wallet, which is a secret wallet, like you pull the thing, and the cards shoot out. One of the first ones with the design. I'm not gonna say first, but I really do prefer theirs over other brands that currently now have that similar design. Yeah, I'm just sitting here playing with this. The other thing you can do is hot or off, and do stuff like that, or like these might be reversed. Oh, like this. See, like woo! It's a great fidget toy. So, yeah, just I actually like the longer pen in this regards. But try different stuff out when you try a couple of them, or if you have a friend that likes pens like this, borrow theirs. Same thing with mice. I've said that before with mice. Like if you yourself can't buy multiple, I would say buy at least two and try and make them fairly different. Even if you have one you like, I would actually try to like veer off a little bit until you prefer that, because you may only like that one because you don't know you like something else. Borrow friends. Go into a shop, try them out. There are places. There are pen shows. I didn't even know there were pen shows. I knew that there are knife shows, but a lot of the knife guys also make pens. So you might be able to go to a knife show and see some of the pen guys. I don't live in an area with big enough places to have pen shows and knife shows. A lot of those I feel are more down south. I may be incorrect because it may just be a lot of the places I buy from are more down south. We're talking. I don't mean like southern state. Arizona's not a southern state, but it is down south, considerably down south. But it wouldn't be considered like southern United States because that's southeast essentially. But like Texas, Arizona, and like that area, there seem to be a lot of the pen shows, knife shows, gun shows, like that sort of thing. Not really a thing up here. Not even like big car shows aren't really a thing. So, yeah, if they're in your area, check them out. Otherwise, yeah, if you know people that are in that sort of stuff and they have one, because I oddly met one of my other friends that actually is that PC right there, and he had a Cross Customs ink. I'm like, dude, what's that? He's like, oh yeah, my friend recommended it, got it. It never leaves my desk though, because dang, is that an expensive pen? But it's quality made, like, because he does a lot of stuff in the engineering side of things, and he's like, they do a great job milling. I'm like, yeah, if you take it apart, take a look at like the threading on it. They actually use triple thread, so it's much harder. Like they originally said, like impossible cross thread. That was all on their Kuros Customs, the original with Hi-Tec-C. I'm trying to remember what they call that one though. So they actually had triple, like instead of just 2 threads, they had 3. Now it's not impossible to cross thread that, um, but much harder and nicely smooth in there. Um, yeah, so it's like I know I've run into people that have pens that aren't me I mean like they're friends of mine, but I haven't recommended the pen because I didn't know they were into nice pens. Well, they've gotten them as gifts from other people. I think the safest ones to go with is probably Tactile Turn. They might be probably the biggest, and we have a cat wrecking my keyboard as they hold on. But Paisley Murray, what are you doing? You're literally on the keyboard, which is off, but somehow still responding when you. She was literally holding on to one of the keys with her claws, like falling off the side of the workbench. Gosh darn it, kitty cat. Kit Kat, what are you doing? That you do this, huh? You don't have to move this RAM. Why is there gonna have a Kit Kat with messing up a RAM? So maybe look there first, Tactile Turn. But Tactile Turn, Cross Customs, TI2 Design, those are just some of the ones that there are a lot of like cheaper, especially Chinese brands that have knocked off a lot of their like, you'll just see like a titanium bolt pen on Amazon for $20. Try them if you want, especially if it's compatible with the refill that you like. Give it a shot because like you maybe not have tried a nice pen before, and even like a decent plastic pen, is going to be $10-12. So not the worst thing in the world, but be aware that those are, no, they're not in the same realm as something like this guy. You know what I mean? Not even close. Or my nice copper. This is the first side click I bought, was a copper one. You can see here there's been use over the years. Like there's a lot more play in it. In fact, here's the original TI2 pen. You might have actually seen this in some videos. I have the clip on the opposite side that it shipped with, but this is also one of the places where I found out I should be putting a hole in certain pens. Paisley just stole a power button to a computer and is going to be running off with it momentarily. No, that's not yours. This is not yours. This is not yours. No, it's not. That's not yours either. Kitten. Where's the power switch? Huh? Where'd you put it? Yeah? Where did you put the power switch? There was a switch attached to that. Huh? Kitten. Yeah. I'm almost done. Oh, here's the brass one I was talking about, little stubby. Here's the one that seems no love, this baby blue. So if you guys are interested in this little baby blue guy, hit me up. It's actually like really well done. It's because it's got like a light blue inside, like weathered. And it's got a very interesting design. It's just not one that I'm particularly fond of for any particular reason or any. Oh, here's the original short tech liner. This is now the standard size, which is fine. I think they're too short without the cap on them. They just sit like where they sit in my hand it's just a little too short. It's for the thickness at least. Yeah, this is the original one that David and I both have. After I bought the Fallout version, this guy. Because I think I might have bought that from Jet Pens, not directly from his website. Here's a pen type C original. This uses a Hi-Tec-C, if you notice. Stored tip up. Here's another pen type C, tip up. Another pen type C, tip up. Just the Hi-Tec-C refills seem to prefer that are flat. If you put them down, what I've shown before is this was actually one of the ones. It's a single pen holder. It's got my bolt that is the battle worn bolt. Well, in here I originally had a click style Hi-Tec-C. So like this, it'd be, instead of being a, this is a not a juice up but a juice. Instead of being a juice here, it would have been the click style Hi-Tec-C. Well, I didn't realize in the click style Hi-Tec-C that even though it's a click style, the pens that they're all in store them tip up. Like they have a clip here on this side, go like this, or they have a cap even though it's a click style refill. So what happened is it was in here like this, and I pull it out one day, and the entire tip is black. It pissed itself. And there's foam in the bottom of this, so you're not jamming your pen down into metal, right? And I had to clean that all out with a Q-tip. Pain in my ever-living buttocks. I'm kind of not surprised they went away with these pen holders, like the single ones. They had a couple different finishes. I bought this one, it was on clearance just because. And it is nice. This is not my main desk, but when this is my main desk, this one goes on the main desk as like a, hey, if I don't have another pen in my pocket or near me, you can always grab this one. I know the Bolt V2, even though it's the battle-worn one, it'll have a good cartridge or a good refill in it that'll write, and it'll write nicely. Because I hate grabbing a pen and it writing like shit. That's the one thing I hate. And then the pen type A, which is the original one that was China that got the thing ripped off. This can't go. It does not fit in my holders. So despite not ever using it, not ever, but it doesn't fit in the, because it's square, no fitty. You know, square peg, round hole, square peg, round hole. If you guys listen to the Hives, yeah, the square peg, round hole issue. So it's always on my desk, despite me not using it that often anymore. And you can see what can kind of happen to the Hi-Tec-C refill after a while when it sits. As much as I like it refilling, you can tell it's like an earlier style of that needlepoint. But yeah, this one's always sitting on the desk, and it's flat this way, so it's fine. It'll write well. You know, like right out of the gate here. Let's go and you know. So, oh, it's got crap on the tip. You know, writes fine. It doesn't seem to be a 0.4. It might be a 0.3 because I used to rock 0.3s, not 0.4s. Works fine. So I have that usually sitting on there, and then I also have this guy, which I modified to take a Hi-Tec-C refill with a spacer, and I jammed it in there. It's not really designed to do it, but when you tighten it down, like, it surprisingly, like, the size is quite nice. And like the tip, because it's essentially jammed in there. You know, it's stable. It's not wobbling around and stuff. Because originally this could only take G2 as well. And I'm like, why do I have this big heavy? Well, it's not like a big heavy pen. This is like the Rollerball version of the ink, I believe. Also battle worn. But I just wasn't. Ow, kitten on my shoulders with sharp claws. There you go. Kitten, say cheese. Pizzy Marie. Yeah, you want attention? Yeah, she's happy. You can tell. She at least doesn't smell like shit anymore because I've taken so long to shoot this video. But yeah, it almost had no interest when it was a G2 style pen. Once I converted to the Hi-Tec-C, it got used more because I don't actually have that many Hi-Tec-C pens anymore. Compared to G2, Uniball, Parker, etc. Just because it's fallen out of fashion, especially because the Hi-Tec-C refill is not a click pen refill. And even a lot of the non-click pens will use a click pen refill because they can make a shorter pen. It's just because, for the reason why the click pen refills are shorter is because you have to have room in the pen for the click action. So then they just basically, you have to take the refill, add the click action on top of it, and that's how long it is. And usually that means the refill plus the click action are the same length as a non-click pen's refill. So that's why that occurs. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the thick, what this was about, the thick X-tone, as well as all of the backstory you got with it and introduction to some other pens. We did finally get to this pen. I would not be surprised if this is going to be my daily driver until Tactile Turn drops the next seasonal pen. And if you're wondering why the next seasonal pen will for sure have to be a good one, I am out of space. Here's my cube, my Cross Customs cube. The same thing happened, if you guys are wondering, with the Ember. That's kind of how, well, not only was it their new seasonal bolt since the Stealth, but what also happened is, it's very nice, but I didn't have this cube. And all the other cubes were full, so I didn't have a place to put it. So you know what the solution is? You just always keep it out. And I either kept it in my pocket, or kept it right here, and used that exclusively, to the point where it's almost through its second refill. Now, I've almost exclusively used the Nitro, because look, this one, then the Nitro. But then all these other pens came in within December, basically, end of Black Friday, which would have been end of November, so end of November through December. That's where all the rest of the pens came from. So I think it's a pretty eclectic. There's a lot of, you can see a lot of bolts, because right before this is the Stealth. So 1 bolt, 2 bolt, 3 bolt, 4 bolt, 5 bolt, technically 6 bolts of the last 10 pens are Tactile Turn bolts. And normally, like, other than Kitten, you're in my headphones. What the? How does the kitten even get there? Those are my modified Phillips and my Port Pro whatever's with the universal connector. I much prefer them. They're great, but I wish it was a standardized connector. Actually, you can run those balanced. I got a cable I can kind of jam in there and make them balanced. Yeah, I've never bought this many bolts before. I have I bought the original Stealth bolt. No, not Stealth, but titanium bolt when they redesigned it. Then I bought the Stealth bolt. That's the number of bolts I had. Like standard ones from Tactile Turn. Now I have many more. And now these are all awesome designs. Or I had the Ultim as well. Forgot about that one. But that was because it was thick. I love the Ultim material with it being clear too. But look, these are also thick and they're also clear. They're also awesome. You know, like, yeah, you can even tell from the top. Do you see how this one's more rounded? The Techiform is more rounded. See, you can tell that this guy's just a little chunkier. Now Paisley is taking a refill. Paisley, that's not your refill. That's Shane's refill. He gets all the G2 refills. He's never going to have to buy a new pen refill for the rest of his life. Thanks to me. Yeah. What are you doing? Oh, you're cleaning your butt. Okay, let's not show everybody that. Well, guys, as always, hopefully you enjoyed the content. I should probably be cutting out a bunch of this stuff just to get to the pen, but that's not the kind of videos I make. Maybe we'll have some timestamps if you guys watch and you're like, oh, the actual content of this video is at, 11 minutes and 47 seconds. Put that timestamp. I'll upload it. Rather than, because I don't even have time to upload actual videos, much less make shorter versions and stuff like that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed all the history, all of the commentation on what pen you may or may not want to get, why I got certain pens, how we got to the point that we're at right now, and let me know down below in the comments if you like this sort of stuff. And there's currently cat food on top of my laptop.